We're looking at, a full-scale assault on academic freedom. And it's coming from the very top. The person sworn to uphold the Constitution. Welcome to the Far Left Show. Today, I'm digging into the president's attack, and yeah, it is an attack on Harvard University. It's unprecedented. Totally. What started as this dispute over federal money has just exploded into a full-on barrage of accusations, insults, and what really looks like a blatant attempt to control one of America's biggest, most well-known universities. So let's just get straight to the core of it. Harvard University is suing the current federal government. Suing them, and the reason is huge. The administration has frozen, just flat-out stopped, $2.2 billion in federal funding. Some sources even say maybe $2.3 billion. It's a staggering amount. And look, this isn't just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. This is money for vital research, medical breakthroughs, new technologies, things that actually help Americans, things that matter. And the administration is holding it hostage. And you have to look at why. What are they demanding to release the money? It's pretty shocking. They want Harvard to completely overhaul its governance structure, change how it runs itself, overhaul its hiring practices. They're demanding what they call ideological diversity, which sounds, well, loaded. It sounds like thought police, frankly. And get this, they want Harvard to screen international students based on their beliefs. Yeah, screening beliefs and rejecting anyone they decide is hostile to American values. Who even gets to define that? It raises huge questions about government overreach, about whether universities are supposed to be independent places of thought or just extensions of the current political agenda. So Harvard, quite rightly, said no, absolutely not. They sent back this scathing letter from their lawyers, pushing back hard. And here's where it gets really interesting. Strategically, the lawyers they hired, oh yeah, this is key. Two big names, both with pretty significant Republican ties. First up, William Burke, major Republican lawyer. You might know him as a former ethics advisor to, wait for it, the Trump Organization. Yep, the Trump Organization. And he's represented a whole bunch of Trump allies over the years. So Harvard hiring him, that's clearly a move. It says this isn't just Democrats whining. This is about fundamental principles, not politics. It really undercuts any attempt to just paint Harvard as some liberal bastion crying foul. Burke's background adds a whole other layer. And the second lawyer? Robert Hur. Yeah, that Robert Hur. Trump's appointee as U.S. Attorney for Maryland and the guy who investigated President Biden's handling of classified documents. He's the one who wrote that report calling Biden a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. That report. The irony here is just wild. A guy whose report the previous administration found politically useful, now representing Harvard against the current administration's actions. It really shows how core principles like university freedom can sometimes cut across party lines. The fact that a former Trump appointee is defending Harvard, that says a lot about what's really at stake. Academic freedom, separation of powers. So Burke and Hur together wrote Harvard's legal response, and they did not mince words. They accused the president directly of trying to invade university freedoms. That phrase, university freedoms, it's important. It covers the right to set curriculum, to do research without political meddling, to run their own affairs. Harvard's President Garber's been saying the same thing, talking about university autonomy, First Amendment rights. This is the ground they're fighting on. And Harvard's argument is basically, these administration demands are a massive overstep into protected areas. So Harvard sues. And how does the president react? Does he engage with the legal arguments? Reflect? No, of course not. Predictably, he absolutely lost it. Unleashed this raging tirade on Truth Social, called Harvard an anti-Semitic far-left institution, a liberal mess. And wait, he called Harvard a threat to democracy. Yeah, seriously, Harvard. It's projection, plain and simple. Calling the institution resisting his overreach the threat, it's textbook authoritarian playbook. These broad brush attacks, they just shut down any real conversation. Harvard's a complex place with lots of different people and views, of course. But the attacks didn't stop at the institution itself. He went after the students too. Claimed with zero evidence that they're from all over the world and want to rip our country apart. Good grief. Called them crazed lunatics, spewing fake anger and hate. The language is inflammatory, dangerous, completely unbecoming of the office, and it aims to delegitimize the entire place, the students, the faculty, everyone. And yeah, he went after the faculty too. Alleged that Harvard hires almost all woke, radical left idiots and bird brains. His words, idiots and bird brains, real classy. And according to him, these faculty members only teach failure. So basically, he's trying to dictate university hiring based on ideology. And this whole ideological diversity thing, it sounds reasonable on the surface to some people, maybe. But how would that even work? Who decides the correct balance in astrophysics or medieval literature? It's a minefield and a direct threat to academic freedom. But here's where it gets even more personal and more alarming. William Burke, the Republican lawyer Harvard hired, used to advise the Trump Organization, and the president apparently saw that as a personal betrayal. So what did he do? He went public, again, on Truth Social, demanded that his sons who run the Trump Organization now fire Burke immediately. Yeah, demanded they fire their lawyer publicly, because that lawyer took a case against his administration. He even threw in a petty insult, "He's not that good anyway." It's staggering, a blatant abuse of power, using his platform to pressure his own private family business to punish someone simply for doing their job. It raises serious questions about whether he understands or even cares about the independence of lawyers. And the Trump Organization? Yeah, they caved. Eric Trump announced they were cutting ties with Burke, cited some vague conflict, and said they were moving in a different direction. Come on, the conflict is obvious. The conflict is that Burke dared to take a case the president didn't like. It looks like punishment, pure and simple. This is not how democracy works. This is the president acting like a tin pot dictator, using his family business to retaliate against someone for representing a client. It sends a chilling message. Represent someone who challenges us, and there will be consequences. It completely blurs the line between political power and the legal system. The independence of lawyers is fundamental to a fair justice system, and trying to destroy that harms everyone. And it gets worse. There are reports now, CNN had one suggesting the administration might be exploring ways to weaponize government agencies like the IRS, targeting Harvard's tax-exempt status, potentially using the IRS for political revenge. That is terrifying. The potential for abuse there is enormous. It erodes the norms that are supposed to protect institutions from exactly this kind of interference. You really have to give Harvard credit here, not just for suing, but for how they've done it. They chose lawyers like Burke and Hur very deliberately. It shows this isn't just partisan politics. This is about protecting fundamental principles. And the president calling Harvard a threat to democracy? It's absurd. It's dangerous. Nonsense. The real threat is the administration's behavior trying to silence dissent, control independent institutions, punish opponents. That is the threat to democratic norms. Labeling critics threats, it's a classic authoritarian tactic. It aims to delegitimize opposition. And the hypocrisy? Calling Harvard anti-Semitic and far left, ignoring the thousands of Jewish students, faculty, and prominent Republicans who are alumni? It's just broad, unsubstantiated smears designed to stir up anger and division. You step back and look at the whole picture. The funding freeze, the demands, the social media rants, the attacks on students, the targeting of lawyers. It paints a portrait of a president desperate to assert total control and lash out at anyone who stands in his way. It raises fundamental questions about the limits of executive power and what happens when those limits are aggressively tested. He seems to think he can intimidate anyone, top lawyers, major law firms like Quinn Emanuel, where Burke is a partner, but that often backfires. Bullying experienced lawyers tends to galvanize them, not scare them off. Trying to get Burke fired? That could easily bring more legal trouble, not less. Maybe even against the Trump Organization itself. You don't want to make enemies of highly competent legal professionals whose integrity you've attacked. The independence of the legal profession is crucial. It's a check on power. Trying to undermine it harms the entire system. The rule of law itself? What we're seeing here is a dangerous assault on institutional independence, on the rule of law. And it needs to be resisted. Harvard's fight isn't just about Harvard. It's about whether any institution, universities, nonprofits, even businesses can be free from political strong-arming. The health of democracy depends on these independent institutions being able to function without undue political pressure. This feels like a line-in-the-sand moment. It shows a president willing to use his power, his platform, even his family business for personal vendettas. To silence opposition. It's outrageous. And it demands our attention. The implications go way beyond Harvard Square. It's about the basic relationship between the government and the rest of society. We need to stay informed, keep talking about this, keep analyzing it critically. This cannot be allowed to become the new normal. An informed public discussion is vital. It's how we hold power accountable. So please keep watching The Far Left Show. We promise we'll stay on this story and others like it. If you found this deep dive important, if it made you think, or maybe even made you angry, which, honestly, it should, then please, like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click that notification bell